your step. That's not a threat, no. My heart is a house of
another vlog. So today I'm with my little sister who's going to be doing the recording. So it's not really like a solo date, but like yeah, I hope you do enjoy it. Yeah, there's no one in here, so hopefully it's not closed. Oh, we packed in the wrong place. Oh, this is my little sister Amanda. She's asked to be in my vlog, so hi Amanda. It's the hour, I'm so okay, what's good everybody? Welcome back to yet another video. Like I've been struggling taking this video. Okay, so in today's video I want to talk about interviews. So well, my experience and talk about my fair share of embarrassment, because I mean we do embarrass ourselves sometimes. So just to follow up the video, on the last video I posted about giving out tips for interviews and stuff, so I'm just going to be sharing a little bit of my fair share of of like really like embarrassing things, embarrassing things that happened to me. So I remember the one time I had an interview. So it was a 30-minute interview. So in my head I'm used to like 1-hour interviews, and I got like a 30-minute interview. And then I thought, so how they like told me about it, they were like, no, the guy just wants to see where you're at in terms of your knowledge and stuff. Like remember this time I had no working experience whatsoever. So yeah, so I decided that I was going to go to the interview not prepared, because it's a get to know me interview. It's not really an interview, but they're just trying to see where I'm at. I didn't expect to be asked about nodes, for while loops and do while loops and all of that stuff, but I got asked that and I froze. Like, not that I didn't know what those things were, I did, but I just didn't know how to answer. Yeah, it was just a mess, and that guy was just like not impressed at all. He looked at me dead in the eye and he was just not happy. And then so it was just one of my very first few interviews, so they wanted a tester, but then I said I wanted to be a developer, and then the guy was like, no, even if you don't get to job as a developer, like you still have like a position as a tester. And then afterwards, after I flopped the developer interview, I then got in contact with the recruiter, and he was like, oh sorry, we're not taking any more people, the positions are all filled up. So yeah, like he did me a favor, because it was just a bad deal, it was just a bad deal. And I was just also like in a position where I was just like, no, my uniforms I am, which is a very bad look at life. Like, you must not know my uni life, you must actually go for whatever it is that you want. So the most recent interview that I had was this year. So it was like a live coding interview, right? So this guy goes, okay, so we have code that is like pre-written, so you're just gonna, like, there's a missing functionality and stuff that you will have to do. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not seeing any problem with that, I can sure do it. But you get 1 hour. It's not a bad, but like it's part of it. You get 1 hour to do the thing. They give you 1 hour. So me being me, I didn't. Yes, we good. Thanks. Thank you. So now being a lady, right? I overthink things, right? So they gave me a question, read it to me and stuff, but I still didn't understand the question. So it was a question about like 2 drawers and I want to put information together, and I'm just like, no, but that it doesn't make sense. Why don't you do it this way? He's like, no, but it's this way. But I'm just like, no, like that's not like how I would do it. Like the way your question is. Like if you have a certain problem, I would shift the problem so that it can be easier for me to deal with the problem. But they're like, no, but this is the problem. But I'm like, can't we change the way? Like let's move towards a solution, right? You can't now force me. Like if you, I don't know, guys, but I just didn't believe in their problem. I just thought that their problem was. And then like we spent the whole time looking at each other. Okay, not looking at each other, but me staring at the code, because I'm just like, this question doesn't make sense. Like, why would you know? They expected something from me. And then at the end of the interview, the guy was like, oh, and then he created instances of classes and whatnot, and he was like, no, this is what I wanted to see from you. And I'm like, but this is not fair. Like already, you're not asking me to solve the problem. You just want to see if I'm going to solve the problem the way you want me to solve the problem. So yeah, I think after that, sometimes after interviews you feel otherwise, but after that interview, so after that one particular interview, I didn't feel jack, because I'm just like, it's one of those things where you are writing I don't know, history, where they don't want your opinion, they just want to see if you can remember. Like there's many ways to skin a cat, but he decided that there's a certain way that he wants his answers. So it's just like, you sound a good riddance. I didn't get the job. So yeah, I mean, you get those movish moments, but I guess it's how you learn from that. And let me think of the other one. I think the other one, I remember my very, very first interview I went, it was one of the big 4 audit firms, so they were looking for like an analyst of some sort. And then I had an interview with the partner, and he asked me, you've got such great marks in accounting, why didn't you study accounting? Your girl was like, no, my mom wanted me to study accounting. Another thing with these interviews, I'm just like, why do you want, like, there's like certain answers that they always want to hear, and that will lead to people lying in interviews, because I feel like sometimes too often they can't take honesty, so you can't be like, no, I really liked accounting, but I got into IT by mistake, or it was just one of those things that happened, They don't want to hear that, They want to hear, I'm so passionate about this thing. Do you understand? And for me, sometimes it's unrealistic, People get into careers that they're not really much into, but they fall in love with them when they're in, or during the course, but like them getting into the course was not, intentional. And then now you must come up with lies like, oh, I started playing with computers when I was 6 years old. And how realistic is that? I mean, living in South Africa is a very poor, man. There's only a fair percentage of kids who grow up with like computers in their household. So it's really unrealistic. But yeah, that's how they choose to do things. So yes.
Is there anything I can fix you?
No, nothing for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Our food has arrived. So yeah. So my tips to people who are looking for. Also, guys, one more tip that I want to tell you. I had a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about this girl. So we were talking about how when you're looking for a job, always keep in mind that they're also looking for a candidate. And also, when you're looking for a job, keep in mind that they must also impress you. It's not about them only. It's not about them finding the perfect candidate, but they also need to impress you. He also mentioned the fact that the reason why there's like the 3-month probation, they're like the first 3 months, you can do a 1 week, 1 week. You can literally resign, like give resignation notice in 1 week, because they also need to impress you in those 3 months. You're not always about them, because like till the day we last spoke with this friend, I believe that this 3 months I must impress them, but they also need to impress you. Do you understand? So that you can leave when you want to leave. So don't always, it's not always about the company, it's 50-50. They also need to impress you. If you're not happy with what's happening, you're allowed to leave. Do you understand? So don't beat yourself up. You get a job. They also need to treat you good. They also need to show you why it is that you need to stay in that job. So yeah, it's not a favor. Keep that in mind. So my food has arrived. So yeah, bye. Not the closing, but we really did enjoy our meal. It was really great. Really fantastic. So the name of the place is Dopio Zero, something like that. Somewhere in Estonia. So it's still in the south of Joburg. So I'm still exploring that first. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed.